All right, let's dive into this. Today, we're tackling a topic that, well, our culture often gives a wide berth, but it's absolutely foundational: emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be clear up front.
Mm-hmm.
This is distinct from mental health.
Mm-hmm.
They're related, sure, but they're kind of different conversations.
That's a really important distinction. Yeah. And the material we're digging into today comes from an essay, 10 Things Emotionally Healthy People Know How to Do by Brianna Wiest.
Right, from her book, A 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, the one you shared.
Exactly.
So our mission with this deep dive, really your deep dive, is to pull out the most important, maybe the most actionable insights from this particular essay.
Yeah, unpacking these 10 specific things that Wiestes points to as marks of emotional health.
And hopefully offering some perspective that can help you understand yourself, maybe your world, a little better.
And the core idea setting the stage, according to the essay, is this really interesting point about why we struggle in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
It suggests we often hide or, suppress our emotions. And primarily it's to protect our self-idea, this image we have of who we think we are or maybe who we want to be.
Yeah, and the tricky part, the essay argues, is that these suppressed emotions, these shadow selves, as psychology sometimes calls them, they don't just vanish politely.
No, they become problematic. Silent, insidious, controlling monsters, I think is the phrase Wiest uses. Pretty strong language.
Definitely gets your attention.
It does. And achieving perfect emotional health, well, it isn't really a single destination. The essay admits it's a huge topic.
Right.
But these 10 points, they're presented as really crucial elements, things to understand, think about, and importantly, to strive for.
So not like a checklist you pass or fail.
Exactly. More like guideposts, on the path.
Okay, let's unpack these then, starting with number 1. Emotionally healthy people know how to listen to their pain.
This is incredibly insightful, I think. Brianna Wiest frames emotional stress, discomfort, even pain, not as like glitches or things to just get rid of immediately.
But as signals.
Exactly. Signals.
That's pointing where, though?
Always pointing towards some kind of misalignment.
Yeah.
That something in your life, maybe your choices, your perspective, it isn't quite fitting you right now. These signals are actually always directing you towards something better, something more authentic, more aligned with who you're genuinely becoming.
So the pain itself isn't really the problem. It's the messenger trying to grab your attention.
Precisely.
And the real work, then, is getting past whatever fear or habit made you ignore that signal to begin with.
Right, because ignoring the messenger just lets the misalignment continue.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, moving to the second point. They know how to observe thoughts objectively and not identify with them. This feels like, well, it pops up in a lot of self-awareness stuff.
It really does. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
The core idea here is separating yourself from that constant stream of consciousness in your head. You are not your thoughts and you are not your feelings. You are the awareness, the being that observes them, processes them, and decides how to use or, react to them.
So, okay, you can't necessarily stop maybe an unwanted thought or feeling from just popping up.
Right.
But you still have agency over how you engage with it. You choose which ones get your energy and which ones you can just sort of let float by.
Yeah. And here's a really key nuance from the essay. If you find certain thoughts, do stick around, If you just can't seem to let them go easily.
Yeah.
That's another signal. It means you're trying to tell yourself or show yourself something important that needs attention. It's not just a random thought to be dismissed.
Okay, that reframes it a bit. So
Yeah.
It's not a failure if you can't let go. It's maybe an invitation to look closer.
Exactly. I like that way of putting it.
Point number 3 is a powerful one. Seeing within themselves the things they dislike in others. Oof.
Yeah, this one is so fundamental the essay really emphasizes it, repeats it almost. The core idea, simply put, is you love in others what you love in yourself. You hate in others what you cannot see in yourself.
Wow. So that intense reaction, like that deep annoyance or frustration you feel when someone else does something, according to this, it says more about you than it does about them.
That's the argument, yeah. It suggests that intense negative reaction is often triggered because it's bumping up against something inside you that you haven't acknowledged or accepted yet. Wiest presents this as like an ultimate tool for personal growth, to consciously practice looking inward whenever you feel that strong negative judgment flare up about someone else.
And the payoff for doing that.
Fair.
That sounds like hard work.
It is hard work, But the essay suggests it's the fastest way to a more peaceful existence.
That's so.
Because if your anger or frustration really stems from something inside you, understanding that frees you, doesn't it? From being constantly bothered by what other people are doing externally.
So the real work and the real peace, it's internal.
That's the idea.
That's a tough truth, but definitely something to chew on. Okay, next, number 4. They can differentiate loving something versus loving the idea of it.
This is about bringing awareness to the root of your desires, like being conscious of why you want something, not just the fact that you want it.
Because often, the essay points out, the idea of something, it's just a projection, right? A way to solve a problem that might only exist in our own heads.
Exactly. Like chasing the idea of a perfect, super attentive partner because maybe deep down you feel unworthy of love.
Ah, so the idea solves the unworthiness problem in your head.
Right. Without that awareness, you might just tell yourself, oh, I'm just a hopeless romantic, or I really need this specific thing or this person for happiness.
But the desire is actually coming from trying to patch up an internal wound.
Yeah, potentially. Not necessarily from a genuine appreciation of the thing or person itself. Conscious desire in this framing comes from a much healthier, more integrated place, not just problem solving.
That's a powerful distinction between an unconscious pattern and like a deliberate choice. Okay,
Yeah.
Point 5 moves into relationships. Emotionally healthy people know when it's time to break up with a friend.
This acknowledges a difficult reality, doesn't it? Where is that line between sticking by a friend through thick and thin and staying in a relationship that's actually become detrimental or just doesn't serve anyone positively anymore?
Yeah, I always notice we often feel this misplaced sense of obligation, like a guilt that keeps us tied to relationships that have become emotionally draining, maybe even toxic.
She calls it a recipe for emotional disaster.
So what's the path forward then, according to the essay? How do you know?
Well, it suggests identifying relationships where the other person might be consistently spiteful, maybe jealous, or just so wrapped up in their own unresolved stuff that they constantly project it onto you.
Okay.
It's about recognizing when a relationship has become fundamentally unhealthy for you.
Right. And this naturally brings up the point that, well, people who are hurting or acting out still need love, too.
Of course. But the essay suggests that sometimes creating distance is the healthiest way to offer that love, both to them by not enabling unhealthy dynamics.
And crucially to yourself, by protecting your own emotional space.
It's a hard boundary, but sometimes necessary.
A really important boundary to learn, definitely.
Oh.
Okay, number 6. They live minimally, but realistically.
This challenges our culture's constant push for acquisition, doesn't it? The core insight here is that external purchases, physical stuff, it just doesn't provide lasting internal satisfaction or feeling.
Not beyond that initial hit, maybe.
Right. So the alternative presented isn't necessarily, living in a cave, but stepping off that relentless treadmill of always wanting more.
And grounding yourself in simplicity, intentionality.
Exactly. It's about being mindful, like want not, waste not. Keeping only what's truly meaningful or genuinely useful, being intentional about consumption, about possessions.
Fostering gratitude for what you actually have.
Yeah, it's about cultivating an internal richness that isn't dependent on piling up external things.
Shifting the energy from chasing external validation through stuff,
To cultivating internal well-being through just being grounded.
which connects really nicely to number 7. They can be alone.
The primary gift of solitude, according to this essay, is perspective.
How so? What kind of perspective?
Well, when you're alone, there's no audience, right? You don't have to filter your reactions or carefully choose your words or manage how anyone else is feeling. You can just be with yourself. You can experience your own emotions fully, authentically, without shaping them for how they'll land on someone else.
And the result of that unfiltered internal time.
It's profoundly relaxing, apparently. Emotionally healthy people understand the value of this space, and they practice it often. Being alone isn't about feeling lonely.
It's about creating that necessary space for self-connection.
Precisely.
Element 8 builds right on that idea of engaging internally. They let themselves feel.
This gets right to the heart of so many emotional struggles, I think. The source suggests that the fundamental belief that feeling certain emotions just isn't okay. That's where things start to go wrong.
Because it's not the presence of the uncomfortable feeling itself that causes the most harm.
It's the resistance to it. That's the source of suffering, the essay argues. Fighting the feeling just amplifies it, gives it power over you.
So the emotionally healthy skill is simply allowing yourself to experience anything and everything that comes up without judging it or pushing it away.
That's the idea. They understand that feeling an emotion, even a really intense one, won't actually destroy them.
Right.
They might even consciously set aside time like, okay, I need to sit with this difficult feeling and just process it.
And this isn't seen as losing control, because I think that's a common fear.
Quite the opposite. The essay argues this willingness to feel everything is actually the path to feeling grounded, resolved, and present. Allowing yourself to feel fully is, in this framework, basically as in control as a human can be. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about engaging with them, integrating them.
That's a really powerful redefinition of control.
Yeah.
Okay, point number 9 is next. They do not attach to any one outcome being good or right.
This tackles that trap we fall into, right? Having a single rigid expectation for how things should turn out.
Yeah.
When you decide one outcome is the only acceptable or right one, then anything else that happens automatically gets labeled wrong or a failure.
But life rarely follows such a neat script, does it? Things work out the way we plan sometimes.
And often they don't.
Right.
And the key insight here is recognizing that the unexpected path, the outcome you didn't plan for or label as right, it also contains value. It holds a gift, even if it's a difficult one sometimes.
It can lead you to places or insights you couldn't have anticipated otherwise.
Exactly. It frees you up from the disappointment of those rigid expectations not being met and opens you up to what actually is.
Which flows perfectly into the final point, number 10. They see the value and purpose of each and every experience.
This shifts the whole focus, doesn't it? From the destination to the journey, from the result to the process. The point of an experience isn't ultimately about what you get from it,
but who you become by going through it.
Exactly. This perspective sees everything, the quote-unquote good, the bad, the messy, the beautiful as, all of it contributes to your growth, your evolution.
And the essay challenges our quick labeling of things as bad, suggesting that's often just based on what we've been taught or what clashes with our idea of what's right.
So the takeaway here is pretty profound. Life isn't about getting everything right.
It's about getting better.
Yeah, about evolving. And every single experience, no matter how it feels in the moment, is a building block for that becoming.
There's a great quote the essay includes from Johanna Di Salento that captures this perfectly. The only way to fail is to abstain.
Meaning, the only real misstep is to just check out, to disengage, to refuse to participate in the whole process of living and becoming, no matter how challenging it gets sometimes.
Wow. Okay. We've journeyed through these 10 points, all drawn from that Brianna Wiest essay you shared. They offer a really rich perspective on emotional health. Not as some fixed state you finally achieve, but more like a set of ongoing practices, skills, ways of relating to yourself and the world around you.
Absolutely. These are elements to cultivate, right? Mindsets to adopt, maybe. We aim to pull out these key insights from the source material for you.
Yeah.
And hopefully these 10 points provide some significant value as you explore your own emotional landscape.
Definitely food for thought. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave you with this thought, drawing from those final points about outcomes and the value of every experience.
Okay.
Consider how your approach to the challenging moments, the confusing ones, the great ones, even the terrible ones in your life might shift. If you viewed every situation purely through the lens of who am I becoming by going through this, instead of primarily asking, what did I get? Or did this turn out right? It's a really profound question to mull over, I think.